Hi. I'm going to tell stories about, well, stuff that happened that's real, I think, that's at this house. Like supernatural stuff at this house. And I'm going to eat. I'm on my bed. Here's a carb smart tortilla with peanut butter. I'm eating that. So let me tell you about. So let me tell you about sorry. We're gonna do this at a whisper. Hi. Hi. Where's my water? Where's my water? Where's my water? Okay. Let me get my water. Let me get my water. Hi, I'm an old West guy. The thing I gotta tell you about the old West, I've got a beard and a cowboy hat and old West clothes. I drank the water. Let's go back to the dark. Okay. Yeah. Uh, Lynn, it's 50 something degrees right now, or 60 something. I looked up the weather. His weather is about the same as Johnson City, Tennessee. So I looked up Johnson City, Tennessee, and it literally said highs in the 60s and 70. 2 days and up to 70. 60s and up to 70 for the next 10 days on 2 days ago, I think, when he left. So it's good weather. It's not like regular winter time, but it is. Because sometimes it gets warm in the winter, and it just happened to get warm. So now I'm going to talk about I don't know. I'm going to talk about the scary stories. Okay. Al told me that Al told me that the land here, that this mountain is one of the oldest mountains and mountainsides on Earth. And he said it was one of the most sacred, spiritual, holy, good places of the Native Americans. And I really had a feeling something about here, there was never any war. And I think nobody ever got killed. And it was really good. But it's still the Earth. It's still the Earth. So, it's not like heaven. And so So here's the scary part. So here's the scary part. The last, or one, not the last, not the very last, but one of the last, or maybe the last, one of the last remaining ancestors of the black Indians that lived on this land owned about 160 acres. Yet they had 160 acres, I think, or 200, the most 200, maybe 170. In the 1950s, he still owned it. An old black Indian, and he owned all this land where my house is. This house, blah blah blah. You've seen it. An old black Indian. This is a scary thing. It's scary. Um, they're, I think, I think they're still living in the woods. I think they're still living in the woods. The black Native Americans from like centuries and thousands of years ago, I think they somehow evolved where they know how to hide from us, because I heard one of them in the woods in front of the guest house where I have my guest house. It's like pitch black. It is pitch black there, and I almost never go out there. And when it's dark, and one time something told me go out there now, and I got a feeling I was supposed to go out there. So I went out there and I started walking, and I thought it said just go as far as you can go, just go, even though it's really black. So even though it's all dark, and I started walking into the pitch black in front of the guest house. I started food on my teeth, excuse me, and I started walking into the pitch black in the guest house. I couldn't see anything, but I could somehow, I think maybe I could see a few seconds in or moments in. I could see it look like there are people there, or entities, or like creatures, but I think they're Native Americans who had learned how to hide from people. Like they lived in the woods so long for thousands of years, and they learned how to live in these woods, and hide from regular sight of people. And um and so so what happened was, I when I was walking out there into the pitch black in front of the guest house, I heard them, like, because I usually never would go out there, and I was a little bit afraid of that space at night. I'd get the feeling somebody was there, like when I try to get close to it, and even when there were lights in the back of the house, it didn't light up that part much at all, or I would. It kind of did, but I'd usually have the lights off or something, or the downstairs light off or something when I'd walk down there. So I rarely went in front. I didn't really go in front of the guest house, but I actually got a light for there now. But I don't know. I don't want to mess up their special place if that's where the Native Americans would hang out. And they're I think they were there for thousands of years, so long, or maybe tens of thousands of years, or maybe 100,000 years, like back towards Adam and Eve, the ancestors of Adam and Eve, of course, but um uh you know like like maybe a few thousand years after, anyway. No, and so but I think they evolved to where, or not evolved, learned by teaching one another in the ways they communicate, because humans are highly advanced creatures. And I think they learned how to hide from human beings, or live in the woods, and in places that they knew how to hide, and come out at dark, in the dark at night. And also there's a cave on my property, so they might live in that cave. and there's an entryway to a cave on my property, and I'm at my house, and not it's like in the woods. It's up the woods, up the mountain a little bit. Not in the mountain, but in my backyard, and 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 so they may stay in there at night and come out. I mean, stay in there during the day and then come out at night. And also, I found a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses on the trail, and they look kind of newer. And so here's what happened when I walked in front of the guest house. I heard um, and I saw like little reflections of people moving that look like they could have been Native Americans with like almost like a thing covering their their private and, like their private parts, like a little like almost like Native American clothes, but it was so dark and I could barely catch a tiny bit of light on it. I think that's who they were, was like Native Americans. And I know that I heard the sound of little bells on one of their clothes, on one of their clothes. I don't know if the other ones had it, but I could hear them moving like they were not thinking that I would go back there, because I have never gone that close to that dark place in front of the guest house, and like it was actually in front of the real house on the side of the house. And it's like it's out that door, down the steps, and this way on that side of the house where the guest house is up there, and it's in front of the guest house is like up there, and it's down there. And so I heard little bells on their clothes, like almost like the Christmas time bell. Like there's little like there's things that you hold, like a almost like one of those drum things that has like a wooden handle, and a thing that they had in music class, like with little metal bells on it, but not one of the huge ass ones with all of them on it, but like a few bells, like some bells like by their side. And I heard one of them, and they moved, they had bells on them, and it was like the bells sounded like almost futuristic, and I almost thought they were angels or something. I was so frightened by it, like not I was like, I wasn't really afraid of them, but I assumed they were angels so they couldn't hurt me, and I had a feeling they're angels back there, because I thought like there aren't any creatures or advanced humans or anything like that exist besides human beings that we know. But I think they've been there for like maybe 100,000 years or tens of thousands of years, towards when Adam and Eve were on Earth, or maybe tens of thousands of years ago or thousands of years ago. And so I think they found a way to hide, and they come out at night, and stay in places that are pitch black where people wouldn't walk. And somehow maybe they can either see better at night, or I don't know what. And I did tonight, when I was talking about them, I saw a flash outside that window, like they used a mirror or something to reflect some kind of a light, like out in the woods out there. I saw a flash out in the woods, and it scared me. Scared, and it was a little bit frightening, and so some people are talking about Owl Bob, Owl. No, don't do that to Owl Bob. You would never do that. That's weird. And so I heard the bell sounds, like little bells about this big, like a little more than an inch wide, about like there's little circle shaped metal bells. It sounded like that, but almost futuristic. But the sound of like Native American more, like and futuristic, like they had really found a way to live and be advanced like other humans and live in the woods and hide among well, in a good way, like with human beings they could live in more woods like places and you know, and this is the land where they had the black Native Americans, one of the last remaining ones, or the last remaining one, who was a black Indian, sold this land, which was about 160 acres. And I think they never had slaves back here either. It's really good. Like people leave their doors unlocked and it's really kind and good. And you can hear if somebody drives onto the mountain because there's like a gravel road and you can hear them from, like, down the hill. It's so quiet. And so somebody's going to show up and and on that side of the mountain, there's 800 or 1,000 or 1,200 acres. There's like 1,200 acres back there with no one there. Pitch black right now. The entire mountain, like 1,200 acres. It goes up there. It goes up that mountainside, and it's almost like flat in the top, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but it's. I know what it looks like because I've walked up there. Have videos on it you can watch if you look up. Going for an adventure in the woods or um, going for a walk in the woods. It's something about the woods, John Birmingham, the woods. You'll find a video of me walking back there during the day. And I think I took dogs one time, and another time I went up there by myself. Oh, it's scary as shit. I could hear. Oh, and another thing that happened, that was one thing that's scary about the Native Americans. Americans, or I think they're Native Americans or whatever they're called, like Native people who are in America for tens of thousands of years or something, and they found a way to hide from others and live in the woods, and they don't hurt anybody. They never hurt me. But I heard their voices. I heard their voices. I heard their voices. I heard their voices. One time downstairs, I was down there and I looked, there are all these kind of scary things. Um, they're supernatural, scary, hard. And uh I don't know why I keep saying scary, hard, hard, and I don't know why. But downstairs, this is what they said. I don't know if my face looks like shit or what, but they said, "We like Owl. We don't like you." Something like they said they didn't really like me as much, but they said we like Owl. They didn't really say they didn't like me. There's something. I'm trying to think of the words the words that they really said. We like Owl. I heard them say it, and I didn't know if it was animals, because Owl said he was a shaman, and shaman's not that good. God and Jesus, we're human beings. You don't believe in other religions, really, don't do that. They have a very less likely chance to get into heaven. But he was a shaman, and he learned from shaman in the bush in Australia with the real Aborigines, and they had dreamland, and that's why he called our videos on our channel Dreamy Dreamland with Owl Bob, and he'd live with him, and they made him eat bugs. They made him eat bugs to survive, because if he didn't eat bugs, then all these crazy ass, weird ass bugs in Australia in the wild would have been biting him and maybe giving him disease and killing him and shit. So he lived in the wild with Aborigines, and they gave him food. They didn't tell him what it was, and he thought it was chocolate, and he thought it was so good or something. But he wasn't as fat back then. He wasn't fat, and he looked cool. He was young, and he still looks okay now, but they made him eat these real bugs. They showed him what it really was, and it was like this weird ass bug stuff that he was eating the entire time. And then no bugs bit him, and he said, "Hey, they're staying away from me." He didn't know he was eating bugs, and and he lived with the Aborigines, so he learned from shaman in different places and lived all around the world. And I think he's been to Africa, all kinds of places, and and Ireland, of course, and but he learned from these native people, these people who lived in the wild, and this land they say was bought by a black Native American, one of the last ones whose ancestors and family owned it, or family owned it way back, and so they bought like 160 acres or 200 acres, 170 acres or something like that, and so I kind of hurt myself earlier today. I didn't know if I looked bad or not, but so the Solonovich people bought it from the, them. Hi, yo, hee haw and dee dong, man. Ding dong, take down. And okay. So the other thing about these Native Americans who I think maybe live in the woods is that one time I looked at the internet signals. The internet signals. Let me take it off my face. Do go store like this. Uh, Shit. No. No, man, don't take shit and say kiss my ass. Goodbye. No, no. Hold on. I'm getting no. No. I'm getting a phone charger. And see, I think, these are really highly advanced, I think, Native Americans who live um, among people in excuse me, among people in America, but not like walk among us misfits, the devil. Praise God, praise Jesus, praise God, praise Jesus, protect us from evil. Praise God, praise Jesus. I plugged this phone in. Let me see if it's charging. I'm going to tell you about. But then here's what happened with them before this phone runs out. Yeah, the phone's charging. Here's what happened. I looked on my phone one night on my computer, and I think on my phone and on my phone, but I know on my computer, and it had all these wireless hotspots that had all these different, and they never had the internet when I got here. Like I didn't that I know of. They did not have the internet when I got here, and it took me 1 year. I tried every cable company or however long until 2018 when I finally got the internet here, and then it was still like a not as good live connection. I had to get higher megabits per second, and it took forever to get good internet here because at this house they didn't have the internet. The people who lived in this house this far back did not have internet. I tried Cox Cable. I tried every company, Verizon. Um, I tried specialty companies who could install out in the woods. No one could get the internet out here besides this guy Tim who moved here in I think 2018, and he put a satellite on my house and has a company that knows how to bring cable out to places in the woods, and he owns his own cable company, and it's kind of um I don't know, some other company that's like a big company, but he can install it in the woods. So then I had the internet, but one day I looked on the computer for the wireless hotspots, and not for the wireless hotspots, for my internet, like where it lists the internet when you click on the Wi-Fi signal at the top. And I took a picture of it too. I have pictures of it. I can show in a post after this. I may show. And it showed all these wireless hotspots, like 5 or 10 of them, and somebody was like in the woods using cell phones, because I think these native people who, like Native Americans got acclimated, became more American, but these people were like the ones who lived like in the woods hiding in the dark all these years, for centuries or whatever, for thousands of years living in the woods, or tens of thousands of years, I think, maybe, to have found ways to hide from human beings and live like right in our backyards in the woods. Sometimes, if there's woods, I think they're only in woods areas. And they're not that scary. They don't hurt anyone that I know of. I don't think they hurt anyone. But I noticed on my phone where the Wi-Fi was listed, there were other hot spots this far out in the woods. I didn't see anyone around here. My neighbors have never had the internet, and there were 5 or 10 of them. So there must have been all these native people in the woods who had cell phones, who got cell phones somehow, and were like all living around the woods around my house. And one of them, one day, I've never seen strangers just walking through my woods. I've never seen one stranger ever just show up at my house in the woods. And some people have showed up at my house and knocked on the door, or driven to my house, but not in the woods. I've never seen anyone walking on the trails of my woods. And I found a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. I found a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. So, and also there, I think, aliens in my neighborhood, because 3 people have verified seeing them. They're aliens, literal aliens, who are angels. I don't know if you know or not, but aliens are angels, so they can't hurt us. They can be terrifying, all right. Oh, it's scary. Outside the room where my son Rowan was gonna have a room, that was the scariest. That the scariest. That was that's in front of the guest house where it was pitch black there. And that little room where there's like a bed on the other side of where Al would stay, opposite side of the house of the where Al would stay. And one time I was staying there and I got the thought, look up this Bible verse. And I think it was from the neighbor. I got a thought, look up this Bible verse, and I had a Bible with me because I went down there to read it and tried somewhere different to sleep. And I read it, and there was no blind. There were no blinds in the window. There were no there, and I was reading the Bible, and I had God and Jesus, and and it was pitch black out the window, and I read the the really scary Bible verse, and it described in detail what these aliens look like in the Bible, who are angels, and it said they had like 4 faces on all around their head, and they could look like goats, and a lion head, and different kinds of faces, and I was afraid of the goat looking one. And it was so scary. And right outside the window, there's nothing covering up the window. It's pitch black outside in a little room downstairs in the house that's like facing the in front of the guest house. And something told me the Bible verse to look up, and I looked it up and read it, and it was about like these creatures who are alien, these angels. They're angels. They're not humans. They're not creatures. They're angels, and they're really really scary. And I got out of there quick and went upstairs and locked the door. That was another time I got scared of that stuff, and it was like downstairs in the house, and it was really scary. And then, and these things only happened here once every few years, or once every year. Uh, and and so and The other thing that these are all these different weird things that happen. And I have videos on this. I think it's under my supernatural videos. Look up supernatural playlist, and I talk about the various stuff. Another thing in one of those videos is down at the big storage building with a kind a little bit of rust on the roof. Um, Down there, a little bit down from there, there's a oh, all these trees fell down, and I saw this weird being when it was about dusk when I first got to the house in 2016, and I heard it run a huge a being, a very tall and big and heavy feet that made these loud thuds when it went and ran fast through the woods with these huge movements of a big tall creature. And um and I heard it at about dusk. It was like I could still kind of see, and I saw something go through the woods like really fast, and and then I looked at the trees back there either the next day or a few days later, and all these huge trees were broken down at one at a time, or had fallen down in a row, like where the thing ran after I saw kind of saw where it was. But I don't know why the trees broke. It could have been from a natural thing. I don't know why the trees broke, but it's in one of my videos on the supernatural videos playlist, that talks about stuff like this. And and then one time I saw Inga's ghost at her house, and there's a in front of her house, and it showed up on a on a live video, and it was really weird. But I know she's good. I know she's good. She helped me come to this house. I don't know how, but she helped me come to this house. And I think she used to be here until around 2018. And I think she left because I haven't felt her here at all anymore. And I think she used to be here. And you can see her in the video of Inga's Ghost. It's called Inga's Ghost. She was married to the man who built all these cool art houses in the neighborhood, and that's it. She was married to the man who built all the art houses in the neighborhood. She built them too, and they bought the land from the old black Indian, and she has a book. It's really interesting to read, and if you like this neighborhood and you really feel like you'd feel good here and want to live here, you may get to rent a house here, or buy a house one day. But it's not for bad people. Bad people, their cars will break on the road sometimes. They can't even make it up here, and they say they hate the road. It's an awful or horrible road. They've called it horrible, awful. Well, they've called it awful, and they don't like it here, and they leave. So it's not really for everyone, and it's pretty far out in the woods. But it feels like I'm like in a regular residential neighborhood. I don't know why, but they're behind my house. Oh shit! I unplugged the cell charger. Behind my house, there's like 1,200 acres. They're pitch black. Back there, pitch black, pitch black. Unless there's some moonlight. So and it's good. And I felt so safe here. I felt so safe here the first up until like 2020. 2020 when I started. Well, Inga's ghost wasn't scary. The creature when I first got here, was a little creepy. A little scary when I first got here. There was worry about genetically manipulated creatures that lived in the woods, that could just jump up on the whole thing and just kill us. And on that could just jump on the they could just jump up on the balcony up here and kill us. And and then the worry went away, and I'd go into the guest house and just go to sleep and lock the doors. And when I first went in the guest house, I worried about a bear just tearing down the door and killing me. I don't know why. I was like really worried one night about a bear. And and then I don't ever worry about a bear anymore. I never worry about a bear. I've seen a bear in my backyard one time, and I filmed it. And then for some reason, I left the phone in a convenience store, and I was never able to find the phone again. and but I filmed a bear, and that's the only time he's been that close to my house. And they don't want to get near humans. They don't want to fight anyone because even if they broke their arm, that'd be it. They'd be done. Like what would they do? So they don't like to fight at all. They don't like to fight anyone, but they may. So you got to get away from them. You can't get near them. You can't touch them, or you can't feed them. You don't ever feed a bear. If you see them, back away and keep facing them and get away from them. But there's only 3 bear attacks a year in all of North America with no deaths. So that's out of like what 800 million people or something, or I don't know how many people live in all of North America, but that's 3 bear attacks with no deaths every year. Like they just don't fight people, and they get away from people. They don't like being near people. They like easy to get to food. But the grizzly bears are scary as shit. Those are like up in Canada and stuff or something. I don't know where they are. Those are pretty scary because they're huge. And they Joe Rogan said in a podcast, said they a podcast that I think he Joe Rogan said somewhere. I think he was in a one of those what's it called, a podcast. and and so he said, I don't know. So he said he said he said don't be on me, man. And then and then what he did was what he did was basically don't man. Basically, what he did was, uh, oh no, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but he said, he said, stop. Okay, what Joe Rogan said. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And so so what he did was don't be bone be bone be bone man be bone be bone be bone no be bone yeah yeah bone. Devil boy. No. Praise God, praise Jesus. There's this guy called Devil Boy, um, in high school who'd give people like shots of whiskey, and he'd give him a whole jug of whiskey and come on, not a jug, but he would never make him drink a jug, but he was like a kind of not that good of a person. He'd give him a bottle of Jack Daniels, when they're 15 years old, and he took us back to his house in high school. He lived in a shitty house in Roanoke, and they called him Devil Boy. And he kicked holes in all the walls, but he like drew on it and said, "This way to hell." And they called him Devil Boy, and he would play old heavy metal records, but he wasn't. He was not that good of a person. He had a shitty house that was totally destroyed and had garbage cans full of like filled of cigarettes and beer, and it was just so gross. But it was like not it was just really bad. He had a totally destroyed house, and his mom let him live in it, and he would play old heavy metal records like Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, everything from the 80s, some stuff from maybe earlier, but the 80s. It was mostly the 80s. And I guess it was the 90s. It was the 90s, and his name, they called him Devil Boy. And eventually he got taken to jail because for buying kids alcohol and stealing alcohol and stuff. And so no, yeah, no. But the Indians, I think they live in the woods here, and they're nice and good. Wow, do they get you back being mean? They at this neighborhood, I found that if I do anything wrong, it comes back to me, and anything racist, I would feel worse, like really bad. Like they really put you through the stuff, and they're good. They must be good, and I don't know if they're angels or they might be angels, but I think they're angels or something, or I don't know. And I think they live in the woods. They must be angels. I don't know. Oh yeah, because I've seen alien crafts here before. There's a fleet of them, and the iPhone wouldn't pick it up. And it was like I have a video on it too in the supernatural videos that I did, and I drew what it looks like, and I'll show you where they were. I walked out downstairs. I got the feeling, go out now. Go out now. You have to go out now. I got the feeling, none of that shit, the way that sounded, but go out now. Like telling me to go out. I had to go out then. And so I had to get up from whatever I was doing and walk out that door. And it was all this wind coming from the trees up there, and I could see their lights way up high on the mountain above the trees, and they had like a pattern of like one, two, three, four, five, six, seven lights on one of them, and the exact same pattern, like where those were, or like five lights here, and the exact, and it was like small. It was like way up there, and it was about this big. It was about that big. The pattern of lights, there were like five of them on one, and there's that exact same pattern of five lights there in this exact same position here. And so that had five little lights, and that not in this place, and this had five little lights. Shit! I thought somebody was down there under the bed. I thought I heard a hiss. Weird. And so there were like five little lights there, and this was up on the mountain above the trees. There were like five little lights there, and the exact same pattern there. Like, so a craft there and a craft there, and that had five lights, that had five lights in the exact same place as this one had, that one had. And there was one of those five ones there, and kind of like up there somewhere in the woods, and up there and there. And then there were the ones with the seven patterns, and there was like one there that had seven, one there that had seven, one there that had seven, something like that. Excuse me. Excuse me. Don't be scared of that. That's just my stupid sneeze. And and then like ones that had three, or something like that. And they were so far apart from one another, but they were high above the woods, and just them hovering there in that exact place. They're in this exact same, they didn't even move a little bit, I think, for some of it, but I may be wrong about that. I think they may have started to move. I don't remember. But when they were still, they're in the exact same one place. And this exact same five pattern light thing, like in one place wherever it was, the exact same, like you take these fingers and they're right here making five lights there, and you take this exact same light pattern, or this exact same light pattern. I didn't move my fingers at all. From here, it was like there was one, and there was one here. Like, and they did, this distance from the fingers didn't move at all. It was in the exact same place. So and they're up in those trees, and they're kind of far away, like a mile away or less, about a mile or less, or something like that, or 2 miles. And they were making so much wind from their crafts. It was blowing through it was blowing through the trees and making wind outside. It was blowing through the trees and making wind outside, and I could see them, the crafts, not the aliens. And so I filmed a video on it, and it didn't pick up much at all. I filmed a video on it, and I happened to do a low angle, kind of scary looking thing with me like this. I filmed a video on it, but and then I drew it to show you what it would look like, and I put it in a video on my supernatural stories on my channel. And there's a guy who lives in the woods behind my house, and he used to see aliens, but he's probably not afraid of them anymore because they're just aliens and they're good. That means they're good and they can't hurt him. And I got pissed earlier. I was like, I thought they didn't like me for being Italian. They're like really southern or southern. And I got pissed and I said, that's why aliens follow you around. And I was like pissed off, but I made sure to tell them that they're aliens. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're only aliens. They can't hurt you because aliens are angels. Aliens are angels, it says in the Bible, and the Bible is true and real. So they might you might be a little scared of them, but they can't hurt you at all. They can't hurt you at all. They're angels. They can't do anything to hurt you. That's why they don't. That's why aliens don't hurt us. That movie Aliens is nonsense. The movie Aliens and Alien and Aliens 2 and Aliens 3, nonsense. Those that real aliens can't hurt us because they're angels. So I'm eating a carb balanced tortilla. Al would make tortillas, and Al liked eating them because I married a girl who was from Texas, and they have Tex-Mex there. Tex-Mex. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Hey, tortilla. No. Oh, I don't know what to say. Well, I'm eating this tortilla. I'm eating this tortilla. I put peanut butter on it. I figure, hey, it's vegan, right? Might as well rub it all over my skin and put it in my bed. It ain't gonna hurt anything anyway. It's like lotion made of good ingredients. Just put it all over my skin. It's not like putting meat on your skin. But that's what a jerk I am. That's what a jerk I am. How much I like vegan stuff. No.
I've eaten. I haven't eaten meat on this bed. I think. I just don't want to sleep and get the crumbs of meat. It would be so gross. I don't know. I guess I'm stupid. Well, I guess I'm gonna go. Well, I don't know. So I'm gonna go. I think that's a bunch of the supernatural stuff. So I'm gonna go. You can see it more supernatural stuff on my channel. On the supernatural playlist, under playlist on my channel. I'm gonna go. Bye. Praise God. Praise Jesus. This is John Birmingham. Bye.